invocation. All will remain standing and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America by Palmer Sturman, Applications Analyst Programmer for the Senate Clerk's Office.
Good morning. Couple thoughts from Proverbs before I conduct the prayer. Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6, one of my favorite pieces of Scripture. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct our paths. Proverbs speaks a lot to wisdom and foolishness. And one of the areas that is one of my favorite thoughts, which we can't always abide with here in the Senate because of the nature of our work, is, and I paraphrase, you should never engage in debate or argument with a fool, because someone passing by will not be able to discern which one is the fool. Let's pray. Dear Lord, as we gather here today to conduct the business of the Senate on behalf of our constituents throughout Virginia, we pray that your Spirit will be with us, that we will think long and hard about what we do and the impact that we have here in our deliberations and decisions on the people of the Commonwealth. We thank you, dear Lord, for both the honor and the responsibility that has been given us to represent the people of the Commonwealth. And we pray that we will take that seriously and that we will act with wisdom in the decisions that we make. We also pray, dear Lord, that the friendships that we enjoy in this body would not deteriorate, even though we have sometimes vastly different ideas about the direction that we want to take the Commonwealth, and engage in spirited debate and lots of things that are left undecided. Dear Lord, we pray that you'll be with us, your Spirit will be amongst us, our friendships will be preserved, and we will do the work of the Commonwealth to the best of our ability. Amen.
Clerk will call the roll. All those in attendance will please record their vote aye. Clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Monday, August 31st, 2020.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 29, noes 5.
Ayes 29, noes 5. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the House of Delegates.
We do have a communication, Mr. President.
The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Move that we waive the reading of the communications from the House of Delegates.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 13.
Ayes 22, noes 13. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived.
I'm so disappointed.
Oh, is it?
So it's not waived. That's the first reading.
Actually, correction, it takes 4/5 vote to waive the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates, and therefore we will ask the clerk to read the communication from the House of Delegates. Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Having voted on the, well, I didn't vote on the prevailing sides.
Hey, this is a first. In
Mr.
the
President.
House of Delegates, August 28,
Mr. President.
2020.
The senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Mr. President, having voted on the prevailing side, we would move to waive the reading from the House of Delegates. I ask that we reconsider that vote.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the vote by which the communication from the House delegates was not waived be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 0.
Ayes 34, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
It was very short.
The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
One more time, Mr. President, I move that we waive the reading of the communications of the House.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 25, noes 8.
No.
Start reading. Start reading.
Ayes 25, noes 8. The reading from the communication from the House of Delegates and its reading is not waived. Madam Clerk, would you please read the communication?
In the House of Delegates, August 28, 2020. In the House of Delegates has passed the following House bills. House Bill 5041, a bill relating to the State Board of Health, public health emergency, patient visitation, notice to family emergency. House Bill 5046, a bill relating to telemedicine services. House Bill 5048, a bill relating to outbreaks of communicable disease, a public health threat, posting of information. House Bill 5052, a bill relating to legal holidays, June 10th. House Bill 5064, a bill relating to the Virginia Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, landlord remedies, noncompliance with rental agreement payment plan. House Bill 5103, a bill to amend and reenact Chapter 1289 of the Acts of Assembly of 2020, which appropriates the public revenues for 2 years ending respectively on June 30th, 2021 and June 30th, 2022 by adding an item numbered 86.10 relating to the General Appropriation Act, appropriation of funds for the Department of Elections. House Bill 5115, a bill to provide civil relief to citizens furloughed or otherwise receiving reduced wages or payments due to the state of emergency declared by the governor in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, in which action it requests the concurrence of the Senate. Suzette Denslow, Clerk of the House of Delegates.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The clerk will report any communication from the governor.
Do not have any, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, would the journal please reflect that the senator from Rockingham is away on pressing personal business?
Thank the senator. The journal will so reflect. The junior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Point of personal privilege.
If you don't meet during
We would do those at the end, Senator, if that's okay.
Can I make an announcement?
Is she not coming?
not if we adjourn.
Rise for announcement.
Yes, Senator, please proceed. You may make an announcement.
It goes
My
on first
apologies,
reading.
Mr.
You
President.
don't need me. It goes on
I
first
just want to
reading
draw
tomorrow.
everyone's attention.
If you adjourn, that's it. Bill.
I think if everyone could just check, make sure their microphones are off. Okay. Great. Junior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to draw everyone's attention to the paper that was left on your desk this morning, and it is from a series of our coalition partners. I would draw your attention to page A7 so that you can take a look at the appeal that is being made to all of our General Assembly members to stop evictions. This particular advertisement highlights the struggle of Ms. Claudia Taylor, who is facing an eviction crisis. It is an appeal to all of us to be mindful of our citizens throughout the Commonwealth who are facing this crisis. And she is working very hard. She is representative of hundreds of thousands of families who are facing the struggle, and most critically, it's her children as well. Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me to draw attention to this.
Thank you, Senator. Is there any other business to come before the Senate in the morning hour? Seeing no Senate will briefly, okay. Senator from Brussels, Senator Chafin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise for a motion. I move that the journal reflect that the senator from Washington County is away from the Senate on pressing personal business.
Thank the senator. The journal will so reflect. The senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to make a motion.
Senator, has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to discharge Senate Bill 5020 from Committee on Health and Education, and also Senate Bill 5021 to be brought to the floor for immediate consideration, and I request the yeas and the nays. Senate Bill 5020, 5021.
Mr. President. Well, Mr. President.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Senator from Loudoun County, Senator Bell.
Mr. President, will the senior senator from Chesterfield yield for a question?
Senator yield?
Yes, Mr. President, I yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
Could the senator please explain what these two bills are about and why you're making this request?
Senator, has the floor.
Yes, absolutely, and thank you for that opportunity. Senate Bill 5020 was the education voucher program, and Senate Bill 5021 was the bill that said that if the localities requested 100% online for our public students, that this would allow them, the localities, to provide internet access to our students. Senate Bill 5020 is the situation in which a locality mandates 100% online schools and redirects those funds into an education voucher, which would offset the tremendous cost that many of our families are having to spend on alternative forms of education, and giving them that money in the form of an education voucher and applying that towards a private school, homeschool, or tutoring. So it would offset those costs.
Further question? Senator from Loudoun County, Senator Bell. Do you have any further questions?
No, Mr. President, thank you.
Thank the senator.
I thank the senator.
For what purpose does the senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Surville, rise?
Mr. President, I have with the senior senator from Chesterfield yield for a question.
Senator Yield.
I yield.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
Is the senator familiar with Article 8, Section 10 of the Constitution of Virginia, which specifically prohibits appropriations to secondary schools that are not owned or controlled by a locality or the Commonwealth?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I would say to the gentleman that I am aware of the current situation that we have in the state of Virginia, where we have put an unfunded mandate on our parents right now who are faced with the situation of, especially with those folks that are having to work two jobs, and the lower income folks. We need to provide them some type of means to offset the cost that they're having to incur for educating our kids. Both of these bills are hand in hand, and what they do is that they provide relief, financial relief. You know, if our localities, our public schools are going to abdicate their responsibility, their constitutional right to educate our kids 180 days of the school year, then I think we at the state level need to provide some type of alternative to offset that expense to our parents, who are both many times having to work full time and figuring out what to do with their kids. They're incurring tremendous costs in nannies, keepers, and in these situations where kids are having to be schooled at home 100% online. And if you're a parent that has 3 and 4 children at home, you're having to work full time. I think the state, who has abdicated their responsibility to educate our kids 180 days of the year, has a responsibility to help these parents who are put in this, quite frankly, financial hardship. So I think we need to do everything we can as a state. It's interesting, we're quoting the Constitution when it fits for our scenario, but you know, the Constitution also says that the state is supposed to have a constitutional obligation to provide 180 days of public school, and sitting our kids in front of the internet for 8 hours a day, Mr. President, I would argue is not an acceptable way to educate our kids. It's no education at all.
Further question?
Senator Yield for another question.
Senator Yield?
I yield.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I didn't really hear an answer to my question, but I would just ask the senator whether she's familiar of the case of Brown v. Board of Education and the series of school shutdowns that happened in the Commonwealth afterwards, and how this provision got stuck into our Constitution because people tried to set up private academies to be funded by localities to get around Brown v. Board of Education. And that's why this is in here, and that's why we don't send money to vouchers or private schools in this Commonwealth, because it's unconstitutional. Is she familiar with that history?
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would tell the gentleman that I absolutely am aware of that particular case, but I'm also aware of the constitutional responsibility that we have as a state to educate our kids, and that it's upon us within the state of Virginia to fully educate our kids 180 days of the school year. And under the current situation, the level of education is going to be determined by a child's zip code. Those folks in the localities that have mandated 100% online school have not supported the infrastructure to provide that these kids can even receive an education. Many kids, especially in the rural areas, are not going to be able to have a good education because they don't have access to the internet.
I have a point of order.
Point of order?
Yeah, this bill was already PBI'd in committee, was heard in committee. Is this motion in order?
The motion is in order.
Okay.
If it's PBI, it's still in committee.
Mr. President?
Senior Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. I urge the body, we can't have a double standard in Virginia. Either the education of our kids is important or it's not. And while I recognize that we're in the midst of a crisis, we still have to educate our kids. And I'm hearing constituents from all over Virginia, parents all over Virginia, who are really upset that their locality has voted to go 100% online, Mr. President, yet they have not afforded families, low-income families, the ability to connect to the internet. Mr. President, I would argue that if any locality is going to mandate to go 100% online school, is it not the responsibility of the state and those in this body to ensure that no child is left behind,
Mr. President,
that no child receives a level of education that's consistent with their zip code? We should never tolerate that, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, hey guys.
If we can come to order.
Mr. President, would the gentlelady yield for a question on the bill?
Senator Yield.
Mr. President.
Senator, will you yield?
I yield. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
As you'll recall, we had this bill in education and health. I just want to clarify whether or not this bill has changed. As in committee, the bill would have hit the rural areas much harder than it would the more wealthy areas. In other words, what you would do is you would take away the money, which in Lee County is about 80%, but in Fairfax County, you would only take away 10%. And I'm just wondering if there has been an adjustment to the bill from when it was in Education and Health. And as you recall, I voted for the bill because I was hoping to be able to fix it. But is the bill still the bill that punishes Southwest Virginians more than it does in the wealthy areas?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I would answer the gentleman that the bill is in its original form, but I am open to amendments to the bill to ensure that no matter what a child's education, that their level of education is determined by their zip code.
Mr. President.
Further question?
Mr. President, I appreciate that. And as the gentlelady knows, I don't struggle with the idea of vouchers. I think, as a matter of fact, some of those in the lowest income areas should have access, so I appreciate that. I guess my question is that if we suspend the rules, bring the bill directly to a vote here, I don't know if the motion was to bring it to which reading here, but if we do that, it will still be the bill that is most injurious to the people in Southwest Virginia. In other words, those people in Southwest Virginia and those people in the poor rural areas will have to donate a massive amount of their money to the state coffers, as opposed to people in Senator Howe's district who are much more wealthy. They will only take a few pennies. I think it's about 10% of their money and go into there. So I guess this was a struggle for me in committee, and I'm just wanting to understand if that's what we will be bringing to the floor. And I'm not sure yet what the motion really will be, whether it be taken to first, second, or third reading, because ultimately if it's taken to third, there's no amendable stage. And that's my concern. So I'd ask the gentlelady that question.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am certainly open to amendments to this bill, but I do think it's an important issue that we need to address. It's an issue that has come before constituents that I talk to across the state, but I don't think that we should delay this, and I'm happy to, if we want to take a recess or a break, to discuss what type of amendments this bill might need to get in an acceptable format so that we don't disenfranchise the kids in more rural areas. I'm happy to do so.
Mr. President, thank you for your help.
Thank the Senator. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'll save my editorial comments for a moment later, but I would respectfully ask that we stand in recess for 15 minutes, and if the Senate Republican caucus would retire to our normal meeting place, please.
Thank the Senator.
Mr. President. Mr. President.
Okay, sorry. Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry, I had my cue in to speak, but apparently that thing doesn't operate. May I ask would the gentlelady yield for one question before we recess?
Will Senator yield?
I yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
Mr. President, I'd ask the gentlelady, while I believe this is a novel concept and certainly could be of value to the citizens of Virginia and their children, I would ask the gentlelady, has she researched this issue to determine whether or not this may violate federal proscriptions that could in fact cause us to lose our education funding? I would need to know that before I could vote on a bill such as this.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've actually done quite a bit of research on this, and what I would tell you is that this is a critical issue for all the parents in Virginia, regardless of their socioeconomic status. And we have to act on this. We have to provide relief to these families, and if we're going to violate the Constitution of Virginia that says that we are required as a state to give education to our kids for 180 days, which equates to sitting our kids in front of a TV set.
Mr. President, would the gentlelady yield?
Does Senator yield? Does the senior senator from Chesterfield yield? Senator yields. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Perhaps I didn't state my question adequately. but this is an important issue for me to be able to vote on this bill. Has the gentle lady researched the issue to determine whether or not a bill like this would violate any federal proscriptions that could cause us to lose our federal funding for education?
Senator, has the floor.
Thank you. I would answer the gentleman that I have looked at what's necessary at the state level.
Further
Mr.
question?
President.
Thank the senator. Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline. I think your microphone's not on.
Mr. President, will the senator from Chesterfield yield for some questions?
Will Senator yield?
I yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
Mr. President, I would ask the senator from Chesterfield how many votes this requires to be successful for this motion.
Senator has the floor.
The question is, how many votes would this need to succeed?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I would answer the gentleman that I don't know the exact number of votes that we need. Maybe the gentleman could share that. 23, I believe. Two-thirds. I'm sorry, two-thirds. We would need two-thirds.
Further question?
Yes, Mr. President.
Call a friend.
So if my understanding is this requires two-thirds, and we try to make sure that we are successful on something as important as providing education for it, we try to line up the votes. I would ask the senator, I was a minute or two late and I missed the roll call this morning. How many other Republican senators are not here today on a day where we would need 25 votes, sorry.
Mr. President.
That was my
Further
question. I want to know if something like this is being pursued, is it been done with an actual effort to line up the votes, and how many Republicans are missing today?
Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
I would answer the gentleman. I recognize that we need 25 votes today for this to pass. Mr. President, I would also recognize that I know the outcome of this vote regardless of how many Republicans we have here on the floor today, and simply request a yes or no vote.
Further question?
Thank you, Mr. President, and I thank the senator.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on the motion? We currently have a motion to recess, and so without objection, the Senate will stand in recess for 15 minutes. And the clerk has an announcement.
The Republicans are caucusing in a tent out of the back door, so if you exit out the last two doors over on the left, staff will direct you to your tent. And there's also a tent out there for the Democrats when you caucus. So.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The Senate will stand in recess for 15 minutes. Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, in regards to the motion pending, I would like to ask the patron a question, sir.
Okay, as soon as the senator's back. Will the senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase, yield for a question?
Thank you, Mr. President. I yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
Mr. President, as the gentlelady knows, I am no newcomer to vouchers and a way to help those of least income. And I think your bill before in committee was PBI'd before it had a chance for any amendments. If we bring it forward now, this thing will go directly to the third reading, and it just won't be amendable there. And I think many of us who are in favor of helping children will have a Hobson's choice between either helping parents and children or sending our money away. I wonder if the gentlelady would consider this, withdrawing her motion and allowing us to work together on a budget amendment. The budget is coming, to where some of us who agree with her but can fix the nomenclature to be non-injurious to rural people might be able to vote in favor of assisting parents, but not in favor of sending all of our money from rural areas toward the more wealthy areas. I just wonder if she would consider that motion, withdrawing that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the recommendation of the gentleman from Bedford, and it is not my desire to hurt Southwest Virginia, and therefore I'd be willing to work with the Republican Senate caucus as we discussed to create an amendment in the budget so that we can help these families who are in such dire straits right now, trying to both educate their kids and work at the same time. And therefore, I will, Mr. President, withdraw my motion.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank the senator. Without objection, the motion is withdrawn. Is there any other business to come before the Senate in the morning hour? Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, could the journal please reflect that the senator from Henrico, Senator Delavette, is away on pressing personal business?
Thank the senator. The journal will so reflect. Seeing no further business, the clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Wednesday, September the 2nd, 2020. Uncontested calendar, Senate bill on third reading. Senate Bill 5047, a bill relating to the Capitol Square Preservation Council, powers and duties, review and approval of plans for changes to artifacts contained within the Capitol building.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass.
Thank the senator. You want to speak to the bill?
Mr. President, while it is on the uncontested calendar, I think that the summation on the first page of the calendar indicating that it will empower the Capitol Square Preservation Council to oversee the removal of any artifacts, et cetera, from the Capitol, especially in a museum venue.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 5047? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 5047 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 0.
Ayes 37, noes 0. Senate Bill 5047 passes.
Senate Bill 5107, a bill relating to unemployment compensation, short-time compensation, sunset repeal emergency.
Senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the bill pass and speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Senate Bill 5107, what it does is remove the reenactment and sunset clause of the bill. What the governor and the administration indicated was that the Department of Labor will not award a grant to Virginia where it has a sunset. And so what this bill does is simply remove that and affords Virginia the opportunity to get $2.6 million roughly in grant opportunities to continue the work share program, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 5107? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 5107 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 32, noes 5.
Ayes 32, noes 5. Senate Bill 5107 passes.
Uncontested calendar Senate bills on second reading.
Mr. President. Mr. President, having voted...
Sorry, Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excuse me, sir. Having voted on the prevailing side of which we just passed Senate Bill 5107, could I move to reconsider that vote?
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the vote by which Senate Bill 5107 pass be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 0.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. Senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, having previously explained, move the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall Senate Bill 5107 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 3.
Ayes 34, noes 3. Senate Bill 5107 passes.
Uncontested calendar Senate bills on second reading. Senate Bill 5082, a bill to amend the Code of Virginia by adding a section numbered 8.01-225.03 relating to certain hospices, home care organizations, private providers, assisted living facilities, and adult daycare centers. Immunity from civil liability, COVID-19 emergency. Reported from the Committee on the Judiciary with a substitute.
Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 5109, a bill relating to the Commissioner of Health, nursing home employees and residents, priority for testing, COVID-19 pandemic. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health, and there's a floor substitute.
Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I waive the reading of the floor substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Mr. President, I move the floor substitute and in support of that motion.
Senator's the floor.
The substitute simply adds assisted living facilities along with nursing homes as those facilities that the Commissioner of Health would be directed to ensure that the residents and employees of those facilities would receive first priority for testing for COVID-19.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the floor substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is adopted. Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 5031, a bill relating to legal holiday June 10th, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Regular calendar Senate bills on second reading. Senate Bill 5003, a bill relating to the Commission on Civil Rights and Policing established report, reported from the Committee on Rules, and there are 4 floor amendments.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Mr. President, I would yield to the gentleman from Fairfax, as I believe he has some amendments to offer.
Thank the senator. Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would begin by asking that we move to waive the reading of the floor amendments.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendments be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendments is waived. Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
And then what I'd like to do is take the first 2 amendments in a block, Mr. President. And let me just explain. I'm going to do this by segment.
Senator has the floor.
This would effectively drop the number of legislators that are on this commission and add 2 more citizen reps, 2 representatives who would represent other minority groups in Virginia. And this be a longer explanation, but we have other minority groups in this state that were not referenced in this bill, and it's not appropriate that they should be left out, in my opinion, based on the objective of the bill, which I think is laudable. So the first thing we need to do is reduce the number of legislators in order to add more citizen reps. So that would be the first 2 amendments, and so I would move those amendments.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall floor amendments number 1 and 2 be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Floor amendments number 1 and 2 are adopted. Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would next ask that we reject amendment number 3. Senator, the gentlelady from Hampton pointed out that to me that the way I had 3 written right now did not actually say who would name these other citizen reps, so we need to reject amendment 3, and so I would move that we accept amendment 3 with the recommendation that we reject it. Or withdraw it.
The senator could also withdraw if you'd like.
And then why don't we just do that? All right.
Okay, without objection, amendment number 3 is withdrawn.
All right, I'm a
Senator
little bit
has the
out of
floor.
practice. Thank you, Mr. President. Let's move on to amendment 4. And what this does is actually designates that these 2 other minority reps would be named, one by the Speaker and one by the Senate Committee on Rules. So I would move that amendment.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does Senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben rise?
Ask the senator from Fairfax City if he'll yield for a question.
Will Senator yield?
I yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
I would ask the senator if it's his intent that they be 2 separate minority groups, that the House would appoint someone from one minority group and the Senate would appoint someone from a different group. Is that his intent?
Senator has the floor.
Well, I think I would answer the gentleman by saying I think the intent is just what's stated, that we have other minority groups in this state, whether it's Hispanic, Spanish-speaking, whether it's Asian American, whether it's South Asian, whether it's Middle Eastern, and the idea is that a member of another minority group, i.e. a non-white group, would be appointed to this commission, one to be appointed by the Speaker, one to be appointed by the Senate Rules Committee. And that's what it is.
Further question?
Just speaking briefly to the amendment.
Senator has the floor.
I'm going to vote for it because I don't know how I would fix it, but I assume it was his intent to have not necessarily have, if you could have someone be South Asian and someone be Latino or something, to have 2 different groups. And I don't know how I guess there just have to be a degree of coordination among the 2 bodies, perhaps. So with that, I'm going to support the amendment. I don't know if he wants to comment further.
Yeah. Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
I'm not quite, I understand what the gentleman's getting at. I don't know how else to phrase it other than to say we have other minority groups, and we're simply asking that they be represented on this commission. And to be blunt, I think the people in charge can figure this out. So I hope we will accept the motion.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall floor amendment number 4 be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Floor amendment number 4 is adopted.
Senate Bill 5025. Engrossed.
Mr. President?
I'm sorry.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Would it be appropriate for me to make a motion to engross and advance the bill to its third reading?
Yes.
Yes, it would, Senator.
And I would make such a motion, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall Senate Bill 5003 be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 5025, a bill relating to Board and Commissioner of Health, emergency orders and regulations, duration. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I would also ask that that go by for the day. We're still considering what the amendments need to look like. Thank you.
Thank the senator. Without objection, Senate Bill 5025 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 5050, a bill relating to parole, notice and certification, monthly reports, discretionary early consideration. We have a floor substitute. The committee amendments have been rejected.
Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Okay. Oh, we got a few. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, respectfully ask that that bill be passed by for the day, sir.
Without objection, Senate Bill 5050 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 5067, a bill related to the transmission of or exposure to the COVID-19 virus emergency. Reported from the Committee on the Judiciary with a substitute. There are 2 floor amendments and a floor substitute.
Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, before I make a motion, I just want to thank Senators Peterson and Senator Surville, and there were probably some more, Senator Bell, Senator Mason. All these people worked to try to put together something that all the various segments could agree to. And every time they thought they had an agreement, one of the interest groups would raise an objection. Obviously you can't please everybody, and it just got to the point where, we could not put all the groups together, even with some willing to make some sacrifices. So with that, I'm going to move that the bill be struck from the calendar.
Thank the senator. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman. Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speak to the motion.
Senator's the floor.
And I want to, first of all, thank Senator Saslaw for bringing this bill. I think it's a very important bill. And I want to articulate some of the different issues that were addressed. And again, we had a lot of good people participating, and I'm sad that we weren't able to get to the finish line, because I think we did have agreement on something that would have been helpful. The bill in its idea was to give immunity to business owners for tort claims dealing with the COVID-19 virus. In other words, if someone contracts COVID-19 and they sue you and your business saying, we contracted it through your business, that you have some type of legal protection. And I very much support that. When we put together what I'm going to call the compromise version, we listened to all sides. And the way I structured the bill, having listened to Senator Saslaw, was to basically make it what we would call a premises liability bill. So patrons, or what we call invitees that come onto the premises, those claims would be protected as long as you in good faith interacted with the state's laws and were not grossly negligent or used intentional misconduct. That was the compromise I crafted. From speaking with organized labor groups who understandably had an issue, it was my belief, and I only speak for myself, that employer claims, which are typically handled through workmen's compensation or through regulatory agencies, that those should be set aside and should not be made part of this bill. And so I specifically exempted that. And not saying that labor liked this bill to begin with, but I felt like we had reached a sort of peace in the valley on that. And that was the bill that the substitute that I had before you Unfortunately, for better or for worse, people feel like they'd rather have no bill at all, and I respect that. But again, I want to thank Senator Sasslaw for bringing this forward. I feel like we did have a good compromise, but it's not going to get to the goal line. So I will support the motion.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 5067? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 5067 be stricken from the calendar? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. Senate Bill 5067 is stricken from the calendar.
Regular calendar, Senate bill on first reading, Senate Bill 5117, a bill relating to emergency services and disaster law, powers and duties of the governor, executive orders, penalty. Memorial resolutions.
Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Sasslaw.
Mr. President, I move that the memorial resolution on page 5, that's Senate Resolution 528 through Senate Resolution 531, be considered in a block in the usual manner, waiving the reading of the resolutions thereof with the understanding that any senator desiring to move a resolution from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the title to the resolution.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the memorial resolutions on page 5, Senate Resolution 528 through Senate Resolution 531, be considered in the block in the usual manner, waiving the reading of the resolutions thereof, with the understanding that any senator desiring a resolution be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the title of the resolution. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The resolutions are before us in the block. The clerk will read the titles of the memorial resolutions.
Senate Resolution 528, celebrating the life of Ralph Essex Turpin, Jr. Senate Resolution 529, celebrating the life of Jerry Austin Rexroad. Senate Resolution 530, celebrating the life of Percy Conway Nowlin III. Senate Resolution 531, celebrating the life of Robert Joseph Anderson.
The resolutions will be agreed to in the usual manner. All those in favor of agreeing to the memorial resolutions will please rise. The resolutions are agreed to. Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Sasslaw.
Mr. President, I'd inquire the clerk, does that complete the calendar for today?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. For what purpose is the Senior Senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove, rise?
For a point of personal privilege, Mr. President.
Senators, the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, September 2nd, 1945, the Empire of Japan surrendered to the Allied forces aboard the USS Missouri, with General Douglas MacArthur signing for the United States. World War II was one of the most devastating times in our world's history. Just to give you an idea, the combat deaths suffered by the United States was 418,500. By Great Britain, 383,700. France, 217,600. Canada, 45,400. In the Philippines, 15,000. You can quadruple those numbers, the numbers of civilian deaths that happened during those war years. My father served in World War II in the United States Army Air Corps. I mentioned many of us have had relatives who served in the armed forces during World War II. When we talk about the greatest generation, you better believe that was the greatest generation. Not only those who were in the military, but those who were at home, building aircraft, munitions, sacrificing, having coupons to get gasoline and food, recycling efforts that the kids that pull their wagons through the streets. That was a beautiful, beautiful America. But as we look at America today, I just hope that we will think about what our greatest generation sacrificed for us and try to do our best to recognize and thank them for their indeed sacrifice. Some gave some gave all. So, Mr. President, I would ask that when the Senate adjourned today, it adjourn in the honor and the memory of all of our allied forces who fought in World War II. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose the senator from Russell, Senator Chafin, rise?
Mr. President, I rise for a point of personal privilege and a motion.
Senator, the floor.
Mr. President, I'd like to draw my colleagues' attention to a resident of Southwest Virginia named Emory Ralph Altizer. Mr. Altizer passed away last week on August the 29th. At the time of his passing, he was 99 years of age. At the age of 91, Mr. Altizer was America's oldest coal miner. Emory worked 8 decades in the coal mines of Virginia, from the 1930s until 2012. The mines that he worked at were Island Creek at Virginia Pocahontas No. 1, Jewel Ridge at Seaboard No. 1. The last mine he worked at was with Calico Coal, and he worked at several smaller mines along the way. He was 91 years old when he stopped working in the mines, and Emory never said that he retired. He liked to say he got laid off. He leaves behind his wife of 73 years, Lila Altizer, and several children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren. He was a U.S. Navy World War II veteran where he served as a tail gunner on a Martin PBM Mariner on the USS Chandeleur AV-10. He graduated from Richlands High School in Tazewell County in 1940. He was a charter member of the Richlands Tabernacle Church, and he attended church up to his death at the Belfast Full Gospel Fellowship. He was Senator Pillion's uncle by marriage. We note his passing in Southwest Virginia with great sadness, but he also gave great pride and respect for the amazing life that he received. Mr. President, I move that when the Senate adjourned today, it also adjourn in the honor and memory of Mr. Emory Altizer.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be recognized? Is there any other business to come before the Senate? The clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Today, September the 2nd, 2020, the Committee on Finance will meet 15 minutes after adjournment. This is a virtual meeting. 15 minutes after adjournment, Committee on Finance and Appropriations.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Seeing none, I call on the senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 10 a.m. on tomorrow, and that when we adjourn, we do so in memory of the Allied forces who fought in World War II, and also in name of and honor of Mr. Emory Ralph Altizer.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow, and that when it does so in the memory and the honor of the Allied forces who fought in World War II, and in the memory and honor of Emory Ralph Altizer. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow in the memory of the Allied forces who fought in World War II, and in the memory and honor of Emory Ralph Altizer.
Yeah, that was good.